my latest venture. I'm going to be making a dress out of the curtain that you see behind me. This is a very large curtain panel that I purchased from the Goodwill. It's going to be a dress, and I'm going to be making it with all French seams. I've never done French seams before, so this would be a first. I'm hacking 2 patterns. That's 2 patterns. The Mia dress by Pattern Scout and the Handsy top by whoever makes the Handsy top. Seam Work makes the Handsy top. Information will be below in case you want to check out the patterns. I'm going to be cinching the Handsy shirt in so that it meets at the waist. I'm using a full-length version of the Mia dress instead of the high-low version that Pattern Scout originally created. I'm just going to make it straight across the bottom, and I'm adding a little bit of seam allowance on the sides and the back because I printed out smaller sizes because it's a knit pattern for stretchy material, and I'm adding a zipper in the back, so I have to account for the extra seam allowance for the zipper as well as the French seams. So if you're interested in how this curtain is going to be turned into a dress, then I hope you keep watching. And I actually have done the Mia dress and the Handsy top pack already, combining them in to make a dress. This is the version that I made before, but this time I'm adjusting the sleeves, and I did not add a zipper in that other dress, so I'm adding a zipper in this one, and I adjusted the sleeves, and I'm not doing the pocket. I'm just gonna let this dress be its own statement piece with all those huge flowers. It doesn't need any kind of embellishment. Getting into actually putting the pieces together to do the French seams. I can't wait to do these. I cut, oh yeah, these are the facing pieces for the bodice. I'm gonna lay everything out how it should go. I have 3 pieces for the skirt, the 2 back pieces, and I'm gonna put these 2 together like this. I'm hoping everything lays the way it should, but these 2 are gonna go like that, and that's gonna be where the zipper is gonna be inserted, right in between these 2. So those are not gonna be attached yet, but this one is the front panel. I got a phone call, so I have to do a voiceover now because I was on the phone, but I didn't want to stop making the dress. I'm pointing out here how the draw line with that erasable pen was in the middle, and when I did the heat, it never erased, unfortunately. Now I'm just showing the seams. I'm attaching the front panel to the 2 back panels. The 2 back panels are laying right side out on the desk, and I'm just pinning the front panel to the back panels wrong sides together, and that's the start of the French seams. I'll sew down the sides to connect those. I got interrupted by a phone call, but what I wanted to say is that I used my heat erase pen to draw a line down the middle, and the line is still there. It won't erase off. And I'm distraught a little bit, but I'm gonna just let it go. Okay, so I'm doing the top stitch now. This is the first stitch in which you put the items wrong sides together. Normally you would put the stitch on the inside, but of course this is a French seam, so we're doing the outside stitch first at 1 centimeter. I did 2 centimeter seam allowance. I'm stitching the first stitch with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then I'm gonna trim it down a little bit, and then I'm gonna iron it the opposite way, fold it out the opposite way, and then do another stitch at 1 centimeter. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to encase everything in, and that'll be fine. So let's proceed. One seam is done. I'm gonna do the other one. I'm gonna do all the outside seams first on the skirt and the top, and then I'll do all the ironing and then all the other stitches all together. Now I'm on to the shirt. The skirt is a little bit big, I think, even though I did measurements, but we'll see. But this is the front bodice piece. I tried to get certain flowers to be the focal point, and I think I got this good. I was limited because the fabric is repeating. There's nothing that I can use to mirror. It's just a repeating fabric, but I think it'll be fine because the flowers are not in any particular anything. So this is how it's going to be laid out. Wrong sides together. And do the same thing. Just clip and sew straight down on the outside at 1 centimeter down the shoulders and then down the sides here, and then leave this part open for the zipper. And I wasn't getting on camera today because I have rollers in my hair. You want to see? Hey. Okay, I'm planning on wearing this dress this weekend with my hairstyle that I'm trying to come up with. So I'll share that. Okay? Yeah. The outside stitch is already in. This is the shoulder. Now what I'm going to do is just iron it flat from the inside. And I'm pushing the seam allowance to the right. And now I'm going to iron it, pushing it to the left. Now just take it this way. And I'm just going to fold it down so that the seam allowance is flat that way, and then I'm going to iron it again. And now this line is set, so I'm just going to go in and trim the seam allowance back a little bit. I'm just cutting it pretty much in half. And then fold it back this way. I'll just sew it at a 1 centimeter seam allowance straight down this line here. And this is what it looks like from the inside. The seam allowance is all in there, and then from the outside, it looks like this. And I'll press it down to just keep this nice and flat, and I'll do the same thing for the side seam. This is under the sleeve and then down the side seam. So just repeating those steps. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Well, I'm going to do almost the same thing with the skirt. But when I tried it on, kind of like held it up, it seems like it's a little bit too big. So I'm not going to trim the seam allowance on that. I'm just going to do the seam at like 1.5 centimeters to close up the skirt. And then I'll have both pieces almost done. I'll add the facing on the inside of this as well. So let me get that. And the facing is going to go around the neckline. This is the longer piece, so this is going to go around the front neckline. And I'm going to serge these pieces and then attach them together. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do next after I serge them. And I'm going to add interfacing. Yeah, I'm going to add interfacing on these pieces and serge them. probably did not need to serge these edges, but I just like when everything is closed up and nice and smooth. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is understitch the seam allowance to this lining part, so that's going to hold everything over to keep this from rolling out. I could do a top stitch all the way around, but I'm not going to do that unless I have to, because it is kind of thick under here. Now I'm going to work on the sleeves because I might as well finish this out before connecting it. I pulled it as much as I could, or what looks right, to make sure they're even, and then I'm going to cut the excess off of the extra one that's kind of hanging over the side, and then I'm going to do a double rolled hem. And from here I'll do all the finishing touches, complete the seams in the skirt part, attach the pieces together, and do the final hem. So I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.